One box could leave you messed up and fractured. Block these uppercuts, they may leave you captured. May the best fighter win and win again. Battle to the top until his life ends. But if his life ends and he starts to decay, may one of his street soldiers avenge things. See you talking to the game, couldn't be talking to me. I got enough to beat and more soldiers to bury. You know we just clicked in and made you realize this game is twice as hard. You see that with your own eyes. You're on the way to choose your type of life, cause you gotta. I tell you from now, which fighter will be the hotter. I don't think you want this one, just practice. Just challenge me when you're ready with your tactics. High punch, the spin kicks, watch your back split. I see you in the air when I make you back flip. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One box could leave you messed up and fractured. Block these uppercuts, they may leave you captured. May the best fighter win and win again. Battle to the top until his life ends. But if his life ends and he starts to decay, may one of his street soldiers avenge things. See you talking to the game, couldn't be talking to me. I got enough to beat and more soldiers to bury. You know we just clicked in and made you realize this game is twice as hard. You see that with your own eyes. You're on the way to choose your type of life, cause you gotta. I tell you from now, which fighter will be the hotter. I don't think you want this one, just practice. Just challenge me when you're ready with your tactics. High punch, the spin kicks, watch your back split. I see you in the air when I make you back flip. Select to make your first pick.
Yo, 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 what is up, interwebs, nets, and all the things above? It is the headmaster of GQ Asian Dude of Gaming Academy. What is going on? It is November 25th, 2025. Welcome to our Tuesday 8 p.m. show. Can I add more syllables to that? But yes, it is a welcome back to another episode of Gaming Academy where we show you some stuff. I'm going to leave it at that because if it's your first time here, I want it to be a awesome experience. And if you love it, we'd love it and appreciate it to like, subscribe, share, comment, etc. Because it helps us out on the stream whenever we can. So anyways, we are here for another week. And what is up, students of the Gaming Academy? Welcome back to season 2, and we welcome you to class 54, our cozy little Thanksgiving week edition. Now, like I said, if you've never been here before, I'm the headmaster here at GQ Asian Dude, aka Gamer Quotient Asian Dude, joined by the unstoppable, unbreakable, and always stylish master of technique, Professor Blazing Ace Nelson. But first tonight, class is going to feel a little bit different. You know, we're going to change things up. A little bit calmer, a little more nostalgic, because with the holiday on the horizon and half of the Academy out with family, shout out to Nick, it's just 2 of us holding down the fortress. But don't get it twisted, tonight's episode is stacked. Now, of course, season 2, we're changing up this week in gaming history with some Memory Card Chronicles, a massive week of iconic gaming history, of course. And we can't forget about the Aces the Tech, Aces top 5 special moves of all time. Can't wait for that segment. Also, we're bringing back the rhetorical tonight. I've done this with Capcom, and tonight we're going to be doing it with Konami. Sit down. We need to talk, Konami. And of course, the final boss, a Thanksgiving theme message titled Gratitude is a Power-Up. That's the theme of tonight's stream because we're keeping it fun, reflective, and full of heart tonight. So grab your leftovers early, pull up a chair, and settle in. Class 54 begins right now. All right, and of course, let me introduce to you the unbreakable, the unstoppable Blazing Ace Nelson. What is up?
You're not always stylish, but we can work.
Triple S. Yeah, triple S.
Anyways, good to see y'all. Glad to see everybody here with us for another week, for another session. Even though we've only got one of us missing this week, I'm still looking forward to it because we've got plenty to talk about, and I'm pretty sure that if Nick actually gets the chance to take a look at the show after the fact, I'm pretty sure he's gonna like what we got planned too.
Yeah, people get busy, right? We totally get it,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. And even though it's a 3-man team, it's we can make do with two. That's what we do. We flex it over here, right, Shao?
Excellent.
That's right, Shao. All right. So yeah, how's your week been since Class 53?
So far it's been pretty solid. I mean, for the folks that have been catching me on stream this week, I not only got into a little bit of action with Where Winds Meet, but I also picked up and started playing Shadow Labyrinth, and that has been a time.
Okay. And Shadow Labyrinth is a Metroidvania, or they call it search action game, right?
Yep.
And it seems to be like a I don't know if it's I don't know if the secret level episode of Amazon Secret Level was to promote that game, but I think it was kind of like in tandem to that, right? Like they were supposed to create these games that were already either out or just upcoming or coming out. So pretty
Mhm.
cool. I think it's a cool idea. Yeah, and it's like it takes a dark spin on the Pac-Man genre. So check that out when you guys can. So speaking of Pac-Man, wow, that is what that wasn't my first video game I ever played, but I'm sure there was a lot of people playing that as their first video game. Um, the I Over the weekend, I was just chilling. I was hanging out. I wasn't doing anything really. There's a series on Amazon called Game Changers.
Oh,
If you have Prime, if anybody has Prime, check it out. It's like episode one to like 10, and every episode is about people that design video games. And like the first episode was about like Monopoly, right? And second one was like about like Atari, so like board games, and the third one was about Nintendo, and the fourth one was about Sega. So I learned a little bit more about my favorite companies during that time, and like what took to like the history of Nintendo, who up and came and decided to bring that to America, and how Sega was kind of like marketing their video game console differently than Nintendo. It was super educational. I was just like, oh, this is cool. I didn't know this when I was a kid, but they were definitely targeting me when I was a child.
yeah.
It's a fun watch. Check it out when you guys get a chance. I'm sure there's an episode of it on YouTube somewhere. Uh, but that's watching that has kept me kind of nostalgic. So tonight, let's start off this memory card chronicle with a game that I think is been kind of popular among gamers all across the world. All right. So yeah, Memory Card Chronicles is taking place over our This Week in Gaming History, but rather than talking about the games that have come out, we've done that last year. This Memory Card Chronicles is about taking games that came out this week and putting a little spin on it with memories that we've had with games associated with, or memories associated with said game. And the first game I wanted to introduce to you tonight, let me pull it up right here. And I'm sure you've heard about it. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but I want to stress that out to everybody else, right? Because this little game here has taken over the world. And I don't know if that's popped up on the screen yet, but if it's there, it's there. That game is World of Warcraft, coming out on November 23rd, 2004. Ace, where were you on November 23rd, 2004? Do you remember?
Let's see. 2004. I had I had literally just turned 21, so world. Okay, damn, that game is literally half as old as I am.
That's what I'm saying, right? Now, see, like when
Brother.
this is why with Memory Card Chronicles, you're just like, wow, this game can drink now. Like
Mhm.
it's crazy, right? At least in America, I can drink. Hey,
But
what's up?
yeah, I remember being on campus, meeting up with some of my friends, and just the sheer like the sheer pop off, the well, not pop off, just the pop that it got when it finally released.
Mhm.
Like I would say honestly, World of Warcraft was like it was my first MMO.
It was my second. The first one was Final Fantasy 11 because it's Final Fantasy. You got to play it, right? But I would argue that even though I was a Final Fantasy fan, World of Warcraft's barrier of entry was way better than Final Fantasy 11. 11, if you died, you'd level down. You needed a party really to like move your progress across, right? World of Warcraft, you're able to solo. You're able to group up, and like I feel like the barrier of entry in the combat was a little bit easier in comparison to Final Fantasy 11. I remember I was at a game. I worked at GameStop part time, like part time. We're talking like 16 hours a week, or 16 hours a week. Is that right? Yeah, 2 days a week or something like that, or 4 days, depending on how many hours I got. It was my part. It was my second job. My first job was working at, and I actually had to take like I took a half day at Men's Warehouse, took the bus across town to go to work at a GameStop. That's how passionate I was about working at a game store in my mid or early 20s, right? So guys, what I'm saying is that if you want to do it, you're going to make it happen, right? If you want to do it, there's no excuse. As long as I got hired, I was going to make it happen. But anyway, it was release night of World of Warcraft, and I was like not working the midnight shift, but I was definitely like I'm open for like mid to close, right? And I remember I was like clocking out, and there was already people lining up at like 9 o'clock to go pick up their copy of World of Warcraft, right? And I had pre-ordered the Collector's Edition of World of Warcraft, the big like book one that has a sleeve, you know, because I was excited too, because I'm a Warcraft fan. So the fact that there was like you know, like on MMO, I'm gonna be in the World of Warcraft. That's so exciting. Like that's I just remember being a huge dickhead, picking up my copy first. I think I took my copy before anybody else, and I had it like gigantic, like Bible, right? It was like it's huge, and I was like, "Ha look at me, bitches!" And then like just driving away, like because my buddy had picked me up, and yeah, I just remember being that guy, and everybody in line at like 9:30 was like, "Oh, what the fuck? How did you get that?" You know, like. That's my memory behind the World of Warcraft, and just many nights because I was going through some stuff too. Like this is many nights of just like, oh cool, I made some new friends on here. You got me to be more social, and there was like different classes, so there was a lot to explore in the World of Warcraft, pun intended. But like yeah, I just remember good memories with it. You know, raiding with people, joining guilds. This was the era before social media, but also like the beginning of the internet. This is when the MySpace was popping up, right?
Yep.
And so like this is just a whole new world for me. That's kind of how what my experience was. So pretty cool. I don't know. Did you ever get into it at all? Like, or did you ever like?
I got into it a little bit. I first started like my first time playing was actually during Burning Crusade.
Oh, okay, that's a good one to get into. I stopped at Wrath of the Lich King, and I think any time after that, I was just like, dude, this is. I guess you just get burnt out, you know, like, and I started moving on.
Yeah, main reason I didn't stick with it longer term was because, well, subscription.
Yeah, for sure.
No
And I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's funny because games that have a subscription like that, you either get loyal to it and you don't spend money, or you just don't play it because you don't want to spend money. It's so weird because like that's what I noticed because I wasn't like rather than going out buying drinks and clubbing and partying like what most of my friends, I was like I'm gonna spend my like $30 a month on just staying home and chilling, you know, and that's my entertainment. So
yeah,
it's perspective. Do with it as you will. Okay. Shout out to everybody in chat popping off right now. Blue, Jagos, good to see you. Here's a game that needs to come back with a remake, right? Remake. I showed you Devil's Tilt, or was it Devil's Tilt?
Yeah,
Demon's Tilt, something like that. And you know how I like the theme of like Demon's Crush, with like pinball. I feel like a Sonic revival with like high like pixelated art and pinball needs to come back. What do you think? Tell us about this.
Actually, like either high def pixels or just I don't know. Just I feel like a 2D Sonic Mania style revival of Sonic Spinball would be absolutely fan freaking tastic. But I played this one way back largely because, you know, again, I was like, I've always been a huge pinball fan. I mean, not just like playing on the classic machines, like the actual pinball machines in the arcades, but then when pinball games started coming to home consoles, like 3D, like 3D Space Pinball on the computer, or Pinbot on the NES. Like I saw Sonic Spinball, and I'm like, really, a Sonic the Hedgehog pinball game? Oh yeah, nah, let me in. Let me in.
I remember seeing this box at video store, right? Like not a Blockbuster because I was too poor for that. But at the Albert Video or whatever video, it's always some guy's name in a video, right?
Right, like Mike's Video.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw this and I was like, what is this? Like a pinball game with Sonic on it? And I was like, how do you play that? Like, and then you play, you're like, Sonic's the ball. What the heck? That's crazy.
Right? But yeah, I mean, like the first time you see that, the first time you see the box art, and you're like, and it's just it's a wild time because it's like turning your brain around. You're like, how is this going to work? But then you sit down, and then you hear the music at the start, and you're like, how is this gonna work? How are my ears gonna work? And then you start playing.
Yeah, like the Smash TV guy. This is my response. No way. I was like, what is that? Crazy. I thought it was cool. I thought the concept of it was cool. I think more games need to have pinball in it. Like, also, I love the fact it's Spinball, right? Sonic Spinball. Like, I'm surprised Mario didn't have a pinball game. That would have been kind of cool, right?
I mean, we have Metroid Prime Pinball, which is dope as hell, by the way.
Exactly. Mario with pinball and have maybe like a shell as the ball. Right, like that's or it could be like a Yoshi egg, whatever. Like that's like whatever power up you want. That I feel like that's a missed opportunity for Mario over there. So, and it's never too late.
I mean, think about it this way:
too,
the different boards that you could have for a Mario pinball game could range from, just like a new set of worlds, or each of the boards could be like themed after a different game. So you could have one that's like, classic Mario, one that's like Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins.
Yeah, like
or a Dr. Mario pinball table.
I could totally see Super Mario Bros, the OG, like all the boards pixelated, pixel art, 8-bit pixel art. They go to Super Mario World and it's like the Super Nintendo version, right? They go to Mario Galaxy and it's like, super like realistic graphics, like more modern. Like that would be so fun. Like they could have fun with that.
That would be such a trip.
So it's a good one. All right, moving on to our next day here. Let's see here. This one is a trip, personally. So on my list on the syllabus, I have this listed as Killer Instinct 2. But we all know, by the way, that Memory Card Chronicles caption down there is wrong. We're just going to remove that real quick. Or actually, I can fix it. It's 23 to what? 29?
23 to 29.
All right. It's an easy fix. Okay. So this one for the arcade, Killer Instinct 2 came out in 1994, right? But this one specifically was not 2. If you notice that, they renamed it, rebranded it to Killer Instinct Gold, right? In 1996. Now, this was a huge disappointment for me. And I don't say that very often here on the channel, right? But much like the rest of the N64, it was very underwhelming. The reason for this is because when you were a kid in 1990 plus, you heard this.
Available for your home in 1995.
Exactly. So you're at the arcades and you're hearing
available for your home in 1995.
You're like, I'm gonna get Killer Instinct for my house.
Right.
And that's awesome. Right. And then I don't have the clip, but they say, for the Ultra 64. And you're like, bro, I'm gonna have this at home. This is gonna be so like your kid brain is just melting, right? And I waited and I waited. Mario 64 came out. I go, that's kind of neat. Not really my thing, right? I hear Final Fantasy is coming out on the PlayStation, and I'm like, oof, that hurts. That hurts a little bit because Final Fantasy was a Nintendo franchise, right? So I goes, that hurts a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, Coup de grace, right? Killer Instinct, I'm ready for you, right? For your home console. So I wait for the announcement of Killer Instinct on the N64, right? Killer Instinct Gold. Immediately, I was like, is this like a better version of the first one? Right? Because there's no 2 next to it. It's gold, right? I watched the gameplay and I'm like, that is nothing like the arcade whatsoever. And it wasn't and it's not because like I was stupid and I'm like a child. I'm like, I can have an arcade experience at home. By the way, it's not false advertising because Neo Geo was doing that for you. You can have the arcade quality game experience at home for like $500 a cartridge, right? But I was waiting for this because they were hyping up the N64 so hard. I was like, you know what? The PlayStation's out, the Saturn's out, but I'm gonna be a true loyal Nintendo boy and wait for the Ultra 64 to come out. Then I heard it got rebranded to Nintendo 64. So I said, okay, I'll wait for that. And then this game came out, and I was like, wow, this is not good. It was as good as when the Nintendo Super Nintendo released the original Killer Instinct, right? But I was told by the sexy voice
Available for your home in 1995.
that I was gonna get that game that I'm looking at, Rainbow Roller Skating Rink, that game at my house, and it wasn't the same game. Anyway, that's my
Only
terrible
from
memory.
Nintendo.
Yeah,
Ultra
that's my
64.
that's my terrible memory of the Killer Instinct Gold or 2 when I was a child. So it was not a great experience. I immediately bought a PlayStation with Street Fighter Alpha. That's exactly what I did.
That's fair.
Yeah, and that's what happens, folks. When your loyalty is tested and they don't deliver, bro. This is why it's good to have options, right? Because I would have been stuck, disappointed buying this if there was no PlayStation, right? But the fact that there was, I was like, I got an option. I'll just play Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation, even though I was really more excited for Killer Instinct, right? So I have options. So that's what I appreciate about the gaming community and the gaming industry. So, all right. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. And you guys will appreciate this because this is very relevant. Speaking of appreciating games in the industry, I would say this is probably one of the most underappreciated game franchises to ever release in gaming history, right? This is why it's relevant. This bad boy, the 3 came out on the PS2 in 2001. I just had graduated at the time. So Ace, I will let you start off on your memory of Dynasty Warriors 3 because I'll follow yours after that.
And seriously, my keystone memory of Dynasty Warriors 3. This is a tale that I will tell. This is a tale that I will tell constantly because, this game and this memory legitimately has, it became the foundation not just of who I am as an individual and, my palette and my analysis as a gamer, as an analyst, as a reviewer, but it also helped me forge a couple of really solid, long-lasting friendships. Like literally, I went to visit my brother. He was home on leave for the weekend. Went to visit my brother, and I see him and one of his buddies from base. They're sitting in front of the TV. They're playing this. I'm hearing the music, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like something Steph would normally play. And I walk over, and I'm like, hey guys, what's this? And he's like, oh. And it's like, and my brother literally looks at me. He's like, oh, you're good at video games. Come help us.
That's a good like attachment to be given to you.
And he kind of walks me through the controls a little bit. Gives me a chance to like tinker around, and then I'm literally sitting down playing and helping my brother and his friend deal with the objectives and playing through the Yellow Turban Rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we hit Hulao Gate, and this was my hazing ritual.
Wait! Did he know? He set you up, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
I was like, he set you up.
He set me all the way up.
Yeah. He set you.
He said, "See that guy with the cockroach antlers? He's easy. Go ahead."
Yeah.
Brother, was I proven wrong?
Like 2-3 hits, you're done.
You said don't pursue Lu Bu, and I'm like,
Nah, I got this.
nah, I'll win.
Yeah, yeah.
It was at this moment he knew.
That first stage gives you the confidence because you're like, oh, I'm schwacking through all these generals. We're good. Nothing can stop me. You know?
Oh yeah. And then we all had a good laugh. I was kind of mad at first, but then I'm like, but then my brother's like, no, he's that dude is not meant to be beat that early in the game.
I love that Lu Bu is one of those, like, you come to find out he's lore accurate.
Right.
You're not supposed to win against Lu Bu. like that's what it is.
But it was also through Dynasty Warriors 3 that I met Thomas Duder.
Okay.
Because he was staying at the same apartment complex as my brother. In fact, he was working as the groundskeeper there. So, I met him, found out he was a huge fan of Dynasty Warriors, and it just kicked off from there.
I just remember him as like AKA Trimming China.
Yes, exactly. Trimming China.
He would say that, and I'd be like, "Oh, brother, I get it. I understood that reference."
Where is the lie, though?
No, it's facts. It's facts. I would say that my Dynasty Warriors 3 experience was based off 2. Right, I played 2, never played 1, never played the fighting game. Right, I bought 2 because it was one of the launch titles for PS2, and the fact that you're like a one-man army, that's always been like a real like seller to me, like one man against the odds of hundreds, right? And I would have to say, for those that haven't played Dynasty Warriors, this game will make you feel like a superhero without being a superhero, right? Because you are literally fighting hundreds of people on a screen at the same time, and you feel good doing it. And you have like no powers, like you're just a warrior, right? So it took video games and just extrapolated it into like, oh, you like playing games and it makes you feel good to play video games? This is it. And that feeling where you're just like carving through hundreds of soldiers, right? That is one of the best gaming experiences you'd have as a kid. Now, I feel like now you wouldn't really like, you wouldn't really appreciate that. But I feel like with the reinvention of Origins and the high scores that it got, I feel like a lot of new people are now experiencing Dynasty Warriors in a positive way, which is awesome because this game has been disrespected for the longest time ever as repetitive, boring, unintuitive, right? But people forget the first experience, which is normally Dynasty Warriors 3. That Asian kid would say Dynasty Warriors 4, but I disagree with him. But because 3 is really where it really set people off, where this is it. This is like, you can't get any better than this. This is Dynasty Prime. Now, my memory with this is that I often brought this game over to my friend Ryan's house back in high school, and he lived usually like miles away. So I had to drive to his house, and it was worth the drive because I was playing co-op with him, right? And we would just hang out, honestly, like no purpose in our hangout, like no goal but to just chill, eat food, and grind characters. Because this game had like the whole like you had to do certain things for the items to come up and the legendary weapon version of the weapon, and then you just had to grind and kill generals and power up your character by items. There was no cheat. There was no anything. I think you could even like, you can't level up your character by numerically. You have to pick up those power up items to level up your strength and defense, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, like as you level up, your stats do still go up a little bit, but like the major increases come from the item pickups.
Yep.
And also from what gear you pick up. But by the way, a little something you might like. I went through and got Dianwei's 4th weapon right away, pretty much.
I remember accidentally finding one of them, and I was like, "Whoa, this weapon's like busted." And I go, "How did I do this?" And so I was trying to do it with the same. I was trying to do the same tactic with each character because there's no guides back then. We were trying to figure it out. And I was like, bro, this is so frustrating. But at the same time, I'm playing the game. I'm having fun. And I think that's a core memory that people have forgotten because we've been so spoiled with like availability, like access to information. So instead of like the discovery process. We just look it up and go, oh, that's it. Okay, I'll just do that. And it's like, to me, and this is like an old. This is just me, my age showing, is that like you're missing yourself out on that experience of discovering it and being proud of that discovery because it was your experience, but yet you're ruining it by taking a shortcut, looking it up, and going, oh, that's how you do it. And if you paid for a game full price, I think you're doing yourself a disservice by doing that. You should just enjoy your game. Don't forget, these are games. Enjoy them.
Mhm.
It's not about beating them. Just enjoy them.
And I mean, seriously, when the complete edition remaster was announced for this a while back, like it was a Ratatouille moment, man. Like that shit kicked me all the way back to 2001, and I'm like, I'm gonna need to
And
get this.
yeah, and I honestly I like that they chose 3 to remaster. So because like that Asian kid, part 50% of Tafu was like, oh, they should have done 4. It would have been way cooler. I was like, no, bro, that's not. You're missing the point. 3 was when everybody realized this game was awesome. Like, and it only was better with 4, and so on and so on. But like the jump from 2 to 3 is massive.
It really is.
Yeah. So
And I
that's
mean,
why, like, yeah, this game's fantastic.
and I mean, like that, like you were saying earlier, Dynasty Warriors Origins pretty much took the essence of what made the series great from back in 3 and pulled it forward for this, for this new group, this new generation of players to finally, really take a look at it and go, I'm sorry, Dynasty Warriors, I was unfamiliar with your game.
Right? And one of the coolest things I think of recent of time of like with Origins, right, is like the new people just discovering the game is our version of us playing 3. Like, and a lot of reviewers, I don't think they realize that because they look at it strictly from the game perspective, which can totally respect because they're game reviewers. There should be no emotional attachment to the review, right? But at the same time, what they don't get from the disrespect of the years from like 4 to all the way to 9, right? The constant, like, it's the same game, different palette, more characters, right? Is that yes, I get it, but if you love the game, you're gonna want more. That's what if it is nothing but consistent, which is good, right? If you love Dynasty Warriors. So what I'm trying to get is that like the fact that I think it's gone to an extent where when they removed the number and they remastered the game and they kind of redid the game in a different special way for the modern console, modern audience, whatever you want to call it. It did. They got the same treatment we got on 3. We were like, wow, this is actually pretty cool because I've never played the other games before, right?
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, when it comes to Dynasty Warriors Origins 5, they're going to be like, oh man, this game's repetitive, right? Because that's just how it is. It's just nature, video game nature, right? But the point I'm trying to make is if you love something, go for it. Just keep playing it. Who cares if the reviews are booty, right? Like there's been games I reviewed 3 or 4 that I'm like, this game's awesome. I don't know what you're talking about because I take it as what it is. Like I don't take it as like, oh, is this gonna be like the next like game of the year? Like, no, this is a fun game. God Hand is super fun. Like
Right.
yeah. And it's like I don't need somebody that's like that doesn't get it to tell me to not play it. Right. I can watch the information and be like, okay, cool. I'll try it out. And then I go, wow, this is actually more my speed. I totally vibe with this game. This is why, like I said, it's important to have demos. Because if we listen to reviewers, then we're only listening to one side of the story. Okay. So just know that it's important to have demos. Now, here's a game that didn't have a demo, and you put your name all over this, so I want to hear more. What's this about?
Well, the main reason why I actually picked this one in particular, well, the reason I picked, Gary's Mod and Team Fortress 2 in particular is just because of how much of an impact both of those things have actually made on PC gaming as a whole. I mean, sure, Team Fortress 2 has, truckloads of style and personality on its own. If you watch the character trailers, watch the Meet the Spy, Meet the Medic, you watch all that and it's like, I might actually want to get into this game because it just looks like it's absolutely hilarious and fun. And no matter what game, no matter like it seemed like no matter what I was talking about when it came to my friends with, especially modern PC gaming, in some conversation, Gary's mod would always come up because of the simple fact that it was just such a, it's so versatile and it's been used in it had been used in so much already up to that point.
I go ahead.
So yeah, so my main thing, Team Fortress 2. It's the reason we have the orange box is largely Team Fortress 2 and Half-Life 2, with Portal kind of sneaking in there as like the sleeper hit.
Portal was like the icing on the cake.
Exactly.
Pun intended, but the cake is a lie, so we keep that in mind.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you know what? Like I liked Team Fortress 1, and then when they announced Team Fortress 2, I was like, bro, it's like Pixar. This is awesome. Like the character, they have like characters now, right? And one would argue this is the original Overwatch. Think of it, right?
Oh no, that's not an argument. That's just facts.
That's just fact, right? So if anybody says Overwatch is the first of its kind, no, they got to play some Team Fortress 2 because this displayed different classes.
To the Heavy and Sasha.
Oh my gosh, dude! And the numerous amount of machinima we got from this game, like the videos and just the comedy reels, like, bro, the internet was a fun place during that time. Like I was watching video game characters interact and talk with each other. They were, like when Red versus Blue was doing it, they were doing something like this for Team Fortress, right? It was so funny from what I remember. I just love the fact people enjoyed this. Gary's mod is just a fun game for people to just, pick up and play. And it's accessible, right? You don't require a high-end machine to play this stuff. And even to this day, I think this game needs more credit for what it is. And it's just one of those things. And from my memory that I'm like, these are good memories to have. But I wish somehow these guys can sneak back into that hero shooter genre.
And I mean, here's the thing: there is still quite the sizable community still playing Team Fortress 2 to this
yeah.
day.
It's an overall good game. Being the spy, being behind enemy lines is the funniest thing ever. And the fact that, because you have to think about this chat when they were making videos for this, it was based off the game, the experiences from the players. So all the jokes that are in there, they happen in the game as you play them. So the humor writes itself.
Right.
So who touched my gun? Yeah, and then giving each character a personality is fantastic. The fact that the pyro is a psychopath, but like in a weird way, he's not, or she's not. That's the best part. You don't know, right? So that's like part of the gag, right? So I love that. And then I still see to this day the last login with the scout and the spy. Like I haven't seen you since 2003, and he's like, yeah, it's been a long time. You ever seen that meme? Mm-hmm. So I'll find that here in a second, but yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, look at that. Jago seems to be a huge fan of Team Fortress. So I played the Fortress a lot.
I wouldn't be surprised if the rocket jumping tech in Team Fortress 2 hadn't inspired, later hero shooters like hell, even Warframe.
I believe it, but rocket jumping, from my experience, started with Quake. They were using rocket jumping to get the leverage on height, because in Quake, you didn't really get to jump that high, and rocket jumping, you would get to like a ledge, and then since you have a rocket and you're shooting down, that's like the best place to be.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's like my memory of rocket jumping, and they extrapolated on that in all the Quick Arena games and stuff like that. They even made like mods for it where like when you rocket jump, you really get launched, like you just fly away. They knew the joke. Understood.
They knew the assignment.
Here's a game that I think that is a joke itself, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think this game is hilarious. Because it's basically Dynasty Warriors with a comedic twist. And I say comedic because it's very like stylish and it's very cartoony in the way they animate themselves and characters. So, but I'll let Ace handle this game. And this is one of his favorite babies.
Right. So now, where Dynasty Warriors 3 was like, what pulled me into the Muso and Battlefield action genre. When Capcom started dropping the Sengoku Basara games on us, like Koei Tecmo had already started coming out with Samurai Warriors, so we were seeing that same, kind of vibe with more historical figures from Japan. But with Sengoku Basara 2, specifically with Heroes, it was like the developers had finally, not only leaned into what they were aiming for with the series as a whole, but they actually expressed it as well. It's like with Sengoku Basara, we're not just doing battlefield action. We are literally designing our player characters with super heroic qualities.
So earlier when I said Dynasty Warriors made you feel like a superhero, I think somebody was like listening to what I said.
Somebody was listening.
Because they literally made the characters feel like superheroes in this game.
Yep, and like that's why the characters have such exaggerated personalities. Like Yukimura being the super, so hot blooded, his moves are literally on fire kind of thing. And Masamune, historically he was much like Nobunaga, very much an aficionado of Western armaments. So with Masamune here in Basara, they really played up the Western influence with the constant use of English, all the borrowed English language words and sayings, and how his horse literally had like motorcycle spoilers on it.
Yep.
But this was also the game that allowed us to finally play as Masamune's right-hand man, Kojiro, and brother is bad.
he's the counterbalance to Date's like very outgoing personality, while like Kojiro is more cold and calculated, right? Calm and calculated.
Yep, the biker gangster as opposed to the Yakuza.
That's true. That's actually the best way to put it. The biker, the bancho, or the
that's what it was. The bancho. The bancho versus the Yakuza.
Yeah.
But another thing that like really set it apart though was just the gameplay itself, how you had access to these special moves and the different commands and how you could link them together, which they further expanded on as you got further in the series. Hell, one of these days I'll have to jump back onto Sengoku Basara 4 Sumeragi so I can get around to showing that off for people again, because it's when you get to 4 and Sumeragi, when I mention that we need a battlefield action game or a Muso game with X-Men as the franchise, the bones of it are right here.
So what was I guess like what was your memory with this as far as like when did you hear about it, when did you acquire it, etc.?
Well, as far as my memories with it, like I after importing 2 and just having a grand time with it, I've been keeping an eye on the Koei Warriors forums because I was already neck deep in Dynasty Warriors anyway.
I remember those forums.
Right?
I'd be surprised if they're still up, but like, yeah, I remember those forums.
So I was chilling on the forums and, keeping an eye on the non-Koei Muso section. And I saw, Sengoku Basara 2 Heroes was announced. And I'm like, word? Are we getting the Extreme Legends for Basara 2? And as soon as this thing came out, I jumped on to PlayAsia and imported that shit. And haven't turned back since.
Like I said, there's a will, there's a way. You figure it out. I want to play that game. All right, let's figure out how to play it, right? You don't underestimate ambition. Nobunaga's ambition. That. All right, fantastic. Well, before we jump into our next segment here with the tech, because we're going to be skipping over quick bites because Leet's not here tonight. Wanted to kind of just let people know that we have merch. People forget that we got merch, bruh. And I want to show you guys. And I know some people are here. Let's share this tab. So if you guys have been kind of itching to get your own Gamer Quotient cap or get the Welcome to the Next Class shirt designed by Tragically Elite, because he's a Sega nerd from our group here. This is a parody of Welcome to the Next Level, Sega. Sega, if you're watching, that's his idea, not mine. Don't sue me. So it's Lee's fault. Or just our gamer. What do you call it? I call this the Brainwave shirt, which is like our logo for the show or the company. Super cool. So have it on your shirt. You can have it in different colors of your flavor. I personally like the navy and the black one, but the white one's pretty fire also, if that's your thing, right? Summertime shirt. And then also the cap. I think the caps, I love wearing snapbacks, flat bills, and stuff like that. So if you have a preference, this one is the orange one. I got it around Halloween or so, right? Pretty cool. Matches our Quotient logo there, which is pretty sweet. The black one's pretty cool because it has the red black one is actually my favorite one because it just looks fire. Looks good. Good combination of colors there for you. And also, if white's your thing, because I always like to have the white option, it's a good looking hat. So check that out. Or just support the stream, and it'll go straight there, and all the purchases will go directly to the stream. So fantastic. Well, okay, now that I'm done grifting. So let's
shameless self-promotion.
Let's take a leap. We're gonna take you back to the past. Actually, no, we're not going to the past, but we are going towards the future. And what do they have in the future? Technology in the tech. All right.
Really quickly before we get started, go ahead and drop that link to the store in the chat for Stick Figure.
Yep, I gotcha.
And while the headmaster's getting that all set up for you, welcome back, class. Look, the last few weeks we've been revisiting the fundamentals, logging hours in the lab and converting that lab work into footwork. This week, though, we're going to have a little cool down period. Cooldowns and recovery are equally important parts of training, after all. So, with that said, let's have ourselves a little bit of fun and have a group discussion about some of our favorite gaming memories with the Tech Top 5. These are, top shelf tidbits in, some of our favorite games that have truly made an impact. Now, this is in no particular order. It's not definitive. It's in no way exhaustive. And, it's more reflective than anything. So, come along with me and let's recount our favorites on, on certain specific topics that we actually, aim for in regards to, discussing these memories. Tonight's Tech Top 5 is all about special moves, the big hitters that still leave opponent-sized impacts in our hearts and minds. So just going ahead and, kicking things off, I'm going to start with number 5. And number 5 is evidence that sometimes simplicity is best. I mean, Saitama's proven it time and time again. Sometimes the tide of a fight can really be turned with just one punch. One of my favorite examples of this comes from the field commander, Colonel Ralph Jones of the Hydran Special Forces, the Galactica Phantom. This move was introduced back in KOF 97 and, patterned after a signature move from Baki the Grappler. This one-hitter quitter boasts armor frames, strategic delay ability, like you can literally, when you do the move, you can hold the button to charge it and delay the attack. It's got guard crush capabilities, and depending on the game, it'll either wall bounce or one-hit KO on counter hit. Absolutely terrifying to pull off. It's a risky move to pull off as well. But when you land it, the satisfaction that comes from that, and in a good number of cases, the hype and the pop offs that you get from the crowd when you land it, well worth the price of admission. I mean, just look at this man. Look at the on counter hit. Dead. Dead. But with that being said, just thinking back to just really thinking about that sort of one hit, do not try to assault this man kind of move. I mean, it's just armoring through everything. It's even watching this now, I'm just sitting back like, man, I don't want to be on the business end of that. And there's your guard crush and your wall bounce. Yeah. Yeah, this move is so disgustingly powerful that they literally he guest stars in a different game and they gave him that move. Joe, what are you doing? Why are you trying to? No, stop it, Joe. Stop it, God. Y'all don't know what you're getting yourselves into. Terry, no. Oh. I'm sorry. I just can't help but watch this montage of people getting their clocks cleaned. And in multiple instances, hell, in every single game that this has been in, I have been both on the business end and the safe end of it. But GQ, if you're still around, I mean, what do you think? Like, what's one of your favorite, like, just one hit, nigh unstoppable? God. Needless to say, if you want something that will definitely keep your opponents guessing, especially when he's got meter, yeah.
I mean, I have Rio has a punch like this too, but it's not as dramatic as the Galactica Phantom, right? Because Rio has that super punch that he has.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't always have it in some of the games, but he does have that super punch.
And when Rio lands his, that's like an instant stun. So it's still
right. It's not like the universe collapses. Like you gotta have Galactica Phantom. The universe has to collapse.
Right? Like if Ralph was in Street Fighter EX, that would be the move where he hits you with it, and you just see, you just get that background of like the planets crashing together and exploding.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about King of Fighters specifically is because King of Fighters does a good job of making you feel every hit. Right? Like their sound engineering is so good. So like when Galactica Phantom connects, you're just like, oh yeah, that feels good. Like that's
it's either oh yeah, that feels good, or oh god, that looks like it hurts.
Yeah. Well, usually you want to be the one giving the punch, not taking it. Yeah. So
sorry, just clearing a few things away here really quickly. Oh, and another great move that I was actually going to wind up trying to add to this list at some point, but we all know the Potemkin Buster has my heart.
it could be honorable mention.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely one of those that gets an honorable mention. But I'll discuss that further in in another Tech Top 5. Moving on to number 4, though. Number 4 takes us back to earlier times, to the advent of the super move and the evolution to the first and still one of the most feared command grabs. Zangief's spinning pile driver was a terror in and of itself. But in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Terror got an upgrade with the final Atomic Buster. In Super Turbo, super attacks had near zero telegraphing. Like you put in the command and you just see that quick flash, you hear the special effect, and it just goes. So if you're taking the fight to Big Geef, you got to remember that meter also builds as you're taking damage. So you're fighting Zangief. You think you've got something on him, but then as soon as you see that super meter fill up, you have to remind yourself very quickly to stay out of arm's reach. Otherwise, 2 suplexes and a devastatingly ramped up spinning pile driver later, it's lights out.
That character model for that Zangief in the movie, it just the words "you got paid" is in my
Right?
brain, dude. Never go away.
And yes, even in Street Fighter, the movie, the game, Zangief still has this super, and it is still absolutely frightening. I'm sorry, seeing him come out in the cape in Alpha 2 is just so badass.
It's pretty cool.
Now, we were talking about my favorite, we were talking about the Potemkin Buster, a favorite grapple of mine. Now, this one was one of the, this one was the first, still like absolutely terrifying. But then Potemkin says, Zangief seems to have the street covered. He's the street fighter. But what about the air? Hence the Heavenly Potemkin Buster, which I have used numerous times to commit highway robbery. But the final Atomic Buster is just, this is a classic. This is an iconic attack. The sum total of the entirety of Zangief's skill as a wrestler being put into putting your neck straight through the cement.
Yes, Jagos, we need another Slam Masters for sure.
Another Slam Masters, another Pocket Fighter. Now, I do like how they kind of changed it up for Street Fighter EX. How instead of doing the two suplexes, he does the one. Well, he does 2 for his level 3, but then he does the suplex and then just like folds you in half over his knee before, well, all that. Ouch. But since we're talking about iconic grapples and the supers they're in, I remember playing KOF 14 against you and you doing me absolutely dirty with Clark.
I mean,
I remember
I've never played characters with chain throws before in a 2D fighting game, and so I had to. NGO.
I remember Uganda. That's all I have to say.
I just love in KOF 13 how you could combine all his throws in one combo.
Oh,
right? And I was like, oh man, it's so satisfying to like pull it all off. It feels good.
Yep, and yeah, King's Death Cradle combo and Tekken, that gigantic Tiger driver. Like when you are dealing with big body characters in any game, whether it's it could be a fighting game, it could be an RPG, hell, it could even be Dynasty Warriors. When you're dealing with big body characters and you see one that actually like puts their weapon down and just tries to give you a hug, shit is about to get absolutely lethal.
I say shout out to Hideyoshi for having a chain spinning pile driver move.
Going back to Sengoku Basara.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Hideyoshi was a nightmare.
I mean,
and then the chain
cool.
grapples just I will have to go back and pull that game up again.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to do a retrospective on Sumeragi.
Yes, I will.
So, chat, you have to come back and watch that if you're a fan.
See, Jagos, you see, you learn multi throws, and it's just like, nah. You start feeling bad. Like, am I cheating?
Nah, Jagos, if you post stuff like that in chat, you better be prepared to back it up because I'm an Armor King player.
Uh-oh.
I'm letting you know that.
That being said, let's keep it going. Number three is one of the most iconic hybrid special moves in fighting games, heralded by one simple command. Get over here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Scorpion's iconic spear even has imitators in its own franchise. I mean, sure, you've got the spear hook from, Cyber Ninja Smoke. You've got the acid net from Cyrax that pulls you in. But the yell, the sound of the spear and rope cutting the air, and the sudden speed at which you get yanked back toward your erstwhile tormentor all make this one of the most iconic specials out there, as well as, to be fair, one of my favorite non-Johnny Cage attacks in Mortal Kombat. I mean, look at that. Look at that. This man wants to have an intimate conversation with you. He says, let me pull your ear close real quick. But aside, I mean, it's iconic in so many ways, but then just thinking about it, the fact that there's different uses for the spear, not just interacting with the camera, but we're talking space control. We're talking, again, using it as a projectile. So not only are you controlling where your opponent is at, but you're also making sure to keep them at a distance so that way you can set up for anything else, like, say, a teleport punch, or, like, say, in Mortal Kombat 1, using more of his long range, more of his long range stuff. Exactly. Another one just like it. Ivy summoning Suffering from Soul Calibur.
Hey, put it on the Discord. Put it in the arena, which are your top 5 moves. I like to read that off next time.
Exactly. Like, seriously, actually, I think that'll be our homework for the Tech Top 5. I'll get that out of the way right now. Homework for the Tech Top 5, and we have until next month instead of next week. So just think back to your top 5 favorite special moves, and post them in the Discord, post them in the chat, post them in the chat, post them in the comments below the video once the VOD goes up. But let's keep the conversation going, because I mean, you might have your top 5. Or just one that immediately comes to mind. And it'll be moves that'll make me think, damn, I should have put that on my list because it's so cool. But speaking of, just real quick, what you got, GQ, as far as, like, I guess hybrid special moves, or hell, just anything from, iconic moves from Mortal Kombat or any of the NetherRealm games that sticks out?
Moves from MK that are like iconic. I mean, Get Over Here is pretty iconic. Every kid was freaking saying that when the game came out.
Yeah.
I feel like Sub-Zero's so boring because he doesn't say anything. But I think, like, the one that's iconic for me from Mortal Kombat has to be Johnny Cage's Nut Punch. Because there was nothing back then that did that, right? And then the sound that the game would make when you did it to somebody, I would be like, yeah. Like, and you wanted to keep doing it. like as a kid, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna keep punching you in the balls. Like, I think that's iconic, because if you pick Johnny Cage, I think his shadow kick is like the most popular, but his nut punch is what really shines.
Because especially if you, like, hit a point where you just keep doing that to somebody, like, for the entire match, just keeping him stun locked with nut punches. It's frustrating, but at the same time, it can get hilarious.
Yep. No, and in 9, because I think we played 9 a lot, like
Mhm.
locally. He had a combo with it, and it was like so funny to just like corner trap somebody and keep doing it,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
especially if the person you're fighting online didn't know how to block. It was just so funny. Look at this bug. That's
Oh.
interesting.
But yeah, you can't go wrong with the spear. Not in wrestling and not in Mortal Kombat. But moving on, we're almost done. So let's hit the second to last. And I say this, I mean this in, multiple different ways. So for number 2, we're going to take it outside of fighters and step into RPGs for a little bit. Now, while Captain Commando's Captain Sword is an impressive beam generated by, his entire crew, when Squall Leonard raises his gunblade skyward, what happens next takes that move to the next level of absurdity with his penultimate limit break, Blasting Zone. Like, when he does this move, you literally get a view of the beam cresting above the clouds before he brings this thing down on your enemies' heads like he's dropping the moon in Majora's Mask. It's over the top, it's powerful, and if I'm being quite honest with you, while a lot of Squall's character design is, meant to make him look like a badass, Blasting Zone is pretty badass. I
It's
mean,
pretty cool.
it's up there on the screen right now. So, you got, you have access to it once you get his, I forget what the name of his third gunblade is, but, of course,
Is it red? If it's red, it's Ragnarok.
that's right. So yeah, you go through the Renzoku Ken, you go through, his limit break where he's, dishing out all those slashes and combos and you're pulling the trigger in time to each hit. And then you get a perfect, and this happens. Now just watch this for a moment, y'all. Oh, by the power of Grayskull ass.
I mean, this is literally Captain Sword over here, but like insane Captain Sword.
Right? And the thing is, like when I first got Final Fantasy VIII, I got the strategy guide with it because, I like the reading material. But I didn't really start looking through it until later in the game after I had already gotten this. So my first time seeing Blasting Zone, I went in blind. And then I just see this and I'm like, what is he doing? What is he doing? What is he doing? And then that. Just like, why is it going above the planet? Oh, that's why.
Yeah, eight cinematic supers and like just attacks were pretty prime. I thought 7 had it really good, and I think this is why I like 8 a lot because the art direction was a little bit more realistic, right? And they were a little bit better with the technology, but like their limit breaks and also like the Bahamut summonings in like 8 or the Guardian Force summonings in 8 were like, whoa, this is video games. This is so good.
Yes, sir.
Like as a kid, you're like, oh, I can't get any better than this.
Like seriously, you see that movie for the first time and you're literally going, yo, video games.
It's pretty cool. Squall is pretty cool, even though I like Cypher's Gunblade a little bit better. I like Squall a lot as far as a
No
character.
argument here.
Yeah.
Actually, what I think would have been really cool would be if, like, after your final fight with Cypher, you get his gunblade.
That would be a really interesting, or like some way like they fuse together, right?
Mhm.
Like that'd be kind of fun because Squall's was like a revolver, right?
Yeah.
And then his was like a Beretta, kind of like more modern. So I think that, man, that is like, if you think about it now, like wow, that's pretty neat how they like involved that, it kind of added that touch to that. But at the time when you're a kid, you're like, oh, that's cool. They just have gun blades.
And and I mean, when the gunblade weapon class was introduced in Warframe,
Mhm.
I had to go for it.
You had to, man.
had-
Even for nerds in Final Fantasy 14, like when the I forgot
Gunbreaker?
what, yeah, like they got in the gunblade and people were like, "Oh, this is so cool!" Like I love that. I love that. Train suplex. You're welcome.
Oh!
Technically, it's just a suplex, but they just suplex a train. Got you there.
Exactly.
Oh.
But I mean, yeah, honestly, like even going back to the earlier games, like the limit breaks and just the special moves for various characters, especially, Sabin suplexing the train, which actually makes Final Fantasy VIII even funnier because you can get the Doom train as one of your summons.
Yep.
And wow, the cinematic for that one is
Yeah,
you can see
it's
the lights and then the
one of-
tracks, and you're like, oh no.
one of the best quality of life upgrades on the remaster was being able to hit fast forward on some of the cinematics, because some of them were pretty long in the original.
Yeah,
Right.
even
And
with, like,
don't
2
get me
minutes.
wrong, when you're a kid and this is like your first experience with video games, that shit's amazing. But when you've seen it like billion times, you're like, okay, let's just fast forward, let's go. Like
Mhm.
that's just one of my things that it was just ahead of its time, and I think that's why 8 to me is technically my favorite Final Fantasies in the series. Hot take, I know a lot of people don't like 8, but that's the next remake that I want. Is
That would be nice to see. I mean, hell, I've just been kind of like how I've been playing through, Final Fantasy VII, the OG, but modded on Steam. My plan is to do the same with 8 at some point.
yeah, like and one of the reasons why I wanted to be the remastered one, because when I was a child, I remember watching the intro, right? When you see the water going through the boat, and then the music starts to really and then Cypher and Squall just dueling. You're like, oh man, what the hell? This is so sick. This music's awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, I kid you not. I was like, someday, the gameplay will look just like that. And then we're getting games like Final Fantasy Rebirth, and I'm just like, oh my god, we are like really there. We're so close.
Yeah.
It's insane.
But like I said, this is the Tech Top 5. And now, here we are. The apex of the Tech Top 5 special moves is an oldie but a goldie. The catalyst to one of the greatest rivalries in fighting games and a maneuver that has been imitated and duplicated, but rarely gets old. The staple anti-air classic, the Shoryuken. Popularized specifically in Street Fighter II, this classic and often mispronounced attack is instantly recognizable. Special recognition, though, goes to Ryu's Super Arts variant in Street Fighter III, the Shin Shoryuken. Take the OG anti-air classic, give it the damage output, and then add that crisp Street Fighter III sound design, the visual impact, and just the style that comes from this move. I mean, yeah, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, you had Ken, with the Shoryu Repa. So it's like, okay, 2 Shoryukens doing extra damage. That looks neat. But then you see this. And you're like, where did they go? And then 3 seconds later, they fall back onto the screen. My first time seeing that move in Street Fighter 3 New Generation, like first time I hit someone with that, I was like, brother, Ryu killed him. Like that's a fatality. This is Street Fighter. What the hell?
One of the reasons why I felt that way is because the sound literally stops when they get hit by that. All you hear is the hitting. And it's been kind of like a thing. Like when he connects with that in Super Street Fighter 4, when he hits with that, like the sound, the music stops, and all you hear is the whoop. That's all you hear. They did a good job. I feel like
And
that.
another thing that really, makes this stand apart for me is, like I was mentioning earlier, just the simple fact that, this is a special Shoryuken that Ryu has.
Hold on, pause, emergency. When who would have thought? Who would have thought Child James playing Street Fighter 2 was like, someday you're gonna see Ryu Shin Shoryuken Diddy Kong, and it's happening right now. Insane. That's all I gotta say. That's wild. Oh, I gotta replay it. That's crazy. That is crazy. If I went back in time and told 6-year-old James this, he'd be like, "You're a liar. You're a liar. Ryu would never Shin Shoryuken Diddy Kong." No.
And credit where it's due. The alternate low health variant of this in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is pretty damn cool.
It's got story. Like,
Yeah.
there's story in the move itself.
I mean, heck, as I was writing this segment up, actually I was watching this specific video. And even with all the different ways that this move had been, reanimated or redesigned over the course of each of the games.
Star Fox. I'm like, yeah. Also Star Fox.
Right? Just even with all this, I still feel like it doesn't, like, it's great, but Street Fighter 3 is just where it's at.
3 is pretty good. 3 is like, that's when Ryu like finally understands his moves.
Mm-hmm.
Like he breaks free from like the Satsuni no Hado, whatever. So. Cool.
But yeah, with that being said, though, again, the Tech Top 5, this is just, again, this is me, gushing about game design from a audio-visual standpoint. I like, I like seeing cool stuff. I like doing cool stuff. Sometimes that cool stuff sticks with me. Shin Shoryuken and the rest of the moves we discussed was a fine example. And again, for this week, well, this month's homework. Pick a game, any game, doesn't matter. Pick a list of games and tell us what immediately comes to mind when you think of your top 5 favorite special moves in video games. Share it with us, and let's keep the discussion going.
Chat, if you pick World Heroes, extra credit for you for picking World Heroes. If you guys know what I'm talking about.
Brother.
World Heroes. Yeah, the more obscure, like if you pick Fighter's History, I'd be like, bro, you pass. I don't care. Fighter's History, you pass. If you pick Doomsday Warrior, you pass, but then I'll fail you for picking a trash game. Because who would have thought anybody knew what that game was? But it's terrible. Anyway, all right, is that all you got, Ace?
Yep, that is it for the tech for this week, y'all. I hope y'all had fun, and yeah, just remember, study hard, train smart, and may your combos always connect.
Nice. Ooh, yeah, that's a feels good sound, isn't it? Feels good sound. Well, I appreciate that. That was a really good segment. I really like that. I want to see more. And chat, we're watching. I'm in the Discord right now. I see Stick joined the Discord. Welcome. And then if you'll level up, the more you participate, the more access you'll have to certain things, leveling up. So enjoy, have fun, share some stuff with us. We're all really friendly in there. So, all right. So I'm bringing back an oldie but a goodie. You know me. That's what I do, right? And I decided back in season 1, I did a little thing called the Rhetorical. And one of the episodes of the Rhetorical, right? That's me, right? Get it? I talked about how Capcom was wasting their IPs because they have a vault of great IPs, characters, games that they're not leveraging. And I was on your stream the other day, just vomiting all the things that I like they should do, right?
Mhm.
So I had an epiphany. I was like, bro, why don't I do something like this? The channel. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Konami. All right. And if you guys remember, what's that?
Say Konami, have a seat.
Right, Konami, you're in for a ride. So let's go ahead and do this. All right. So first of all, I'm gonna pull up this little fancy video as background for y'all because it's gonna be good for your visual stimuli. It is the brief history of Konami video games. Right. So as I talk about this, I'd love it for you guys to, kind of enjoy this video and all the games that Konami has kind of released over time. So if it makes sense. So anyway, class, settle in, grab your notebooks, tighten your headbands because we're about to unlock a segment from the vault, a season 1 original. If it's your first time here, a fan favorite, a segment that returns with this when the stars align and the gaming questions get too big, when the industry decisions get too dumb. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Rhetorical. And I don't have a jingle for it, but we are going to use the OG This Week in Gaming History. I feel that's appropriate, right? That's appropriate. Okay. Now, the question tonight is for the Rhetorical. What should Konami do with their legendary retro library that you're watching right now if they finally decided to stop sitting on? Hey, that's the question everyone's asking about, but nobody wants to step up and ask the question. I know, because Konami isn't just holding on to good games, right? They're sitting on an entire civilization of classics. I'm showing it to you right now. A pantheon of IPs, a back catalog that can run circles around most publishers. And instead of unleashing these icons on modern hardware, they're out here giving us pachinko machines and NFT experiments like we asked for any of that. That sucks. So let's open the vault, all right? Let's wake up the giants. I'm going to wake you up if you've been sleeping in class. Let's talk about what Konami could be doing if they just stop hitting the snooze on their own legacy. That's pretty hype. Hope you guys are hype. Now, let's start with Castlevania. And I'm sure Castlevania will show up here eventually because this one hurts the most, okay? Imagine, class, a modern AAA Castlevania built in the style of God of War. Now, we know we had Castlevania on the PS3, now on the PC as well, right? But let's give it the atmosphere of Bloodborne and the exploration of Elden Ring. Are you getting goosebumps? Because I am, right? A Belmont as iconic as Kratos, Dracula rendered with next-gen cinematic horror, Michiru Yamane returning to compose a score that melts our souls, pun intended, right? The Netflix series proved that there's demand. The fans never left. The formula is perfect for modern gaming. Konami, this is a layup, right? Not a three-pointer, a layup. Just walk the ball up and score. You know this needs to be done, okay? All right. Now, the next one is going to be iffy, right? A lot of people are mixed on this, but Metal Gear. Hey, chill out, guys. All right, I just work here. Metal Gear, the legacy that deserves respect. Now, coming up next here, I'm going to talk about the big snake in the room, okay? Metal Gear, okay? Now listen, hear me out. Metal Gear without Kojima is like a stealth mission where all the guards have flashlights and the game autosaves every 10 seconds. Right? It's crazy. Technically possible, emotionally painful. Okay. But Konami can do Metal Gear justice if they play it smart. Now, hear me out. Remake Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 in a respectful, archival way. Modern controls, updated AI, untouched scripts. That's important. Preserve original voice acting. Release them as a prestige collection. I think that's a win, right? As a collection, that will seal the deal. It will make it iconic for the rest of time, right? And there won't be a rhetorical in the near future where the future GQ will complain about that. So it's like a loop that we're trying to break. All right. Treat this series like a museum exhibit because that's what it is, a masterpiece of game design, ideology, and storytelling. Stop experimenting, start preserving. Konami, all right? Listen to me. Listen to me. All right. Now, we were treated with a recent Silent Hill. Matter of fact, two. Okay. Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill F, right? Man, this franchise deserves a worthy resurrection of the fog. Capcom showed us exactly how to revive horror with Resident Evil remakes, right? All Konami has to do is follow that blueprint, right? Remake Silent Hill 1 using the RE2 remake framework. That'd be kind of cool, right? Deliver a faithful Silent Hill 3, 4, your favorite one remake. Take a poll on what remake the people want next, right? That's the best and most efficient way to get an idea of what's in demand. Nick has been telling us this the whole time. You know, oh, data is important. These surveys are important. I haven't seen a Konami poll in a long time. And the last time it asked me was something about Contra was super irrelevant to, to a remake. So let's deliver that. Now also launch a brand new mainline Silent Hill 5, which I think is going to be F, but 5 needs to have that number to make sure and to solidify that its fans are like, hey, we're continuing in this series, right? Not PT, right? But we could probably get something like that. But what I'm saying is you need 5. You need a number 5 on there, right? Not cheap thrills, no jump scares. We want atmosphere. We want tension, emotion, psychological horror that sticks to your bones. Silent Hill could own horror again over Resident Evil. Resident Evil has turned into like an action game, except Requiem is looking pretty good. So Konami, keep an eye out. But Konami has to stop treating it like it's a side project. Okay, stop it. All right. Now the next one hits really hard for me because I'm a big fan of Gunpla and Mecha, right? And what better game that can be related and translated to a modern day video game than Zone of the Enders? The mech game modern hardware was built for. My goodness. Now let's talk about the forgotten prince of Zoe, right? Zoe, aka Zone of the Enders. This franchise was way too ahead of its time. It was fast, stylish, fluid mech combat. That's like today's gaming culture. Like you play Mecha Break. That's exactly what people were saying when they saw the gameplay. This is like Zone of the Enders. Bruh. Imagine AC6 level position, right? You guys, Ace, you played Armored Core 6, right?
Uh-huh.
You kind of get the vibe.
Uh-huh.
Anime cutscenes with a modern budget. 120 frames per second orbital battles. A deep branching story campaign. Let's be real. The first two were entertaining, but you play it once, you kind of know what's going on, right? A little fun thing to add, a little bit of flavor. VR missions would be kind of fun, right? A little homage to Metal Gear, right? And with a little bit of mecha technology behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And why not? Warframe's doing it pretty good. Online co-op mech raids. That'd be so sick. So this right now is the perfect moment to revive Zone of the Enders. Heck, Mecha Break is kind of doing it for those people right now. but the industry is starving for a high-speed mecha done right, especially the way the combat was in Zone of the Enders. Brother, there was nothing like two orbital frames clashing weapons back and forth to seeing which one would come out of the clash like better. It was one of the exciting things about that game, right? It was super cool. Okay. We're almost there, guys. Hang on. Ignore the ad here, right? We can't afford YouTube Red, so it's all right. The next game I want to talk about is a game that is dear to my heart because it was one of the games when I was a kid. I had to choose: do I get the Super Elite Optimus Prime toy with the backup, like when you can turn him into the super version of himself because you get the attachment of the trailer, or do I get Contra 1 on the Nintendo because my dad made me choose? Well, I chose Contra 1. Right? Now think about this. I'm going to say something next that is going to be the hottest take of tonight. Contra, the Doom Eternal of run and guns. Oh, I see some eyes lit up on chat. I can feel it. From my end over here, right? Contra is the franchise that raised all our heart rates before energy drinks existed, right? And I know I drink a lot of energy drinks. A modern Contra could be, ready? A hybrid of Doom Eternal, Cuphead, and Returnal. Now think about that, guys. Doom Eternal, Cuphead, and Returnal. Now your brains are probably going, oh my God, I can't process all that. Because you know I'm right. You know that that's the destiny of Contra. Okay. Check this out. A co-op mayhem machine. Cuphead with Returnal gameplay with some of the little tweaks and fun things of Doom Eternal, right? I think that is a cocktail of high octane future of Contra. Boss fights so intense they show up in your dreams. I want to see alien levels of boss fights, and then you talk about your experiences with your friends. Hey, did you beat the level 3 boss in that new Contra game? My God, dude, it is infuriating, but I'm loving every second of it. I want to hear that. Okay. Also, let's crank it up a notch because we all know Contra's music is pretty much of a banger. But why not a metal soundtrack that sounds like it was forged in a volcano, right? Let's do that, especially the volcano on stage 1 on Contra 1, the one that pops up in the background, all right? That should be it right there.
So you're basically saying Mick Gordon should be scoring this new Contra.
Mick Gordon, all the legends should be celebrating like, wow, I get to do the next Contra. I'm going to make everybody so proud. Right? Like, I just feel like Contra is one of those series that like it requires love and like people that know the genre, right? Not a cash grab, not like a modern attempt of slop, right? Like capturing the essence of Contra, right? But at the same time, like making it new and refreshing, right? And I think the first 3 examples are really good examples of what the future of Contra should be. Okay. Now, don't give us retro cute either. Like Blazing Chrome was cool. Iron Meat was cool. Right? We got those like Contra-like games, but no, give us raw, give us chaos, give us the action game to end all action games. Right? We want like visceral. We want gore. We want like when I first started playing Doom on the PS4. I felt like I was playing an old school video game with a new skin and modern day. I want the new Contra to make me feel that way again. All right. And I'll end it with that. Now, the last one for tonight, I've been kind of already dabbling in this, but thank goodness I still want it to be revived. I think Suikoden needs also a revival personally, but we have fans. I've been playing Eiyuden Chronicle, and if you guys don't know what that is, definitely check it out. It is the spiritual successor to Suikoden, and they've also remastered 1 and 2 for you on PlayStation and the Switch. So that's fantastic that they're doing that. But let's take it to the next level, right? 100 characters or more, political intrigue. Let's make it like Game of Thrones level, right? huge battles. Could be it could be Dynasty Warrior style, it could be like Warhammer style. Let's experiment on this. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The moment you mentioned Suikoden and like Dynasty Warriors style, so a battlefield action Suikoden.
Yeah. I think one of the things that it could do is it could start off as a strategy game where you put your pieces on the field, right? And depending on your pieces and the positioning, and they would take in like elevation, weather, stuff like that, and of course your character and their units. But then when you start, it becomes a Dynasty Warriors game. Like it's like 2 layers.
One other thing I was also thinking of though is considering how character synergy works in the Suikoden games, you could actually set up your co-op attacks like how they have the team ups in Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
Absolutely. And see that these are, like I said, the ideas are already out there. They just need to be revived in the game, right? Like I don't know. I'm always wondering if game devs are playing other video games to be like, oh, that's cool. I want to use that. Let's put that in our game. I feel like
that's how we got Expedition 33,
right? And that's what I mean. I feel like there's like some devs are just in it for the money and the prestige, but they don't play games, and that's what they need to do. They need to experience similar games to get inspired. Like, oh, I played it and it was fun. I think the game that I'm making, I make something similar to that, right? And inspired by that. Guys, I'm looking at Zone of the Enders here, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so sick. All right, but here's what else we need to add to that. Fans still talk about Suikoden 2 like scripture, right? It's the success of Sea of Stars. With the success of Sea of Stars, Octopath Traveler, and Eiyuden Chronicle, of course, the audience is begging for JRPGs with heart and world building. Okay, a Suikoden revival could mean HD 2D visuals. Restore 108 stars recruitment. That's like staple to Suikoden. That was kind of the point, right? Turn castle building into a full customization system. Heck, why not make a Stardew Valley version of Suikoden, right? Like where that's a part of the game is Stardew Valley, where you like take care of your castle, like just like that. And also deliver an emotional, multi-generational epic. In addition to like war drama, Game of Thrones like situations. What if if you recruit one hero, they end up, since you recruited that specific hero, some of the heroes betray you because they don't like that guy. You know what I'm saying? There's like more dynamic to the recruitment to it. It's not about just recruiting all the characters, but you got to be careful who you recruit now, right? So and maybe there is a way to recruit all the characters, but you have to recruit them in a certain order. Right, so you can please everyone in a specific way. Multi layers of replay value right there, right? Because if you miss the opportunity, you can play it again and start over, almost becoming a roguelike. Almost. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of different ways to build Suikoden down the road. No, this is not going to be a niche revival. This is a cultural event waiting to happen. Okay. All right, let me ending this segment here, as passionate as I am, right? Let's end it with some classy Life Force music. So here's the real rhetorical for tonight's class guide. With all these legendary franchises, all this nostalgia, all this potential, what the hell is Konami waiting for? Because right now, Konami is sitting on a gaming version of the Library of Alexandria. Okay? Stories that shaped us, worlds that defined eras. You're seeing it on the screen. This is Konami right here. An IPs that changed the industry, and yet these franchises sit in the shadows, waiting, dormant, untapped, pachinko machines. But just imagine, if Konami woke up tomorrow and said, let's do this thing. Let's come back swinging. Let's revive our legacy. They're slowly waking up. The gaming world would shift overnight. And that's the heart of tonight's rhetorical. Konami has the power to change gaming again. but only if they choose to pick up the controller and hit continue. That is tonight's The Rhetorical. All right?
Excellent.
Thank you, Shao. Appreciate that. All right. Let me remove this ad here. All right, what do you guys think? I want to hear some feedback from you.
Well, I mean, again, my mind is just buzzing with the whole, Suikoden and Muso concept. All right, that one's definitely getting me. But also, I mean, heck, Konami could actually try, putting their hat in the arena again as far as fighting games go, because there is at least one that they could, foreseeably pull out of the vault. That being Martial Champion.
They have a lot, man. They got, who owns Bloody Roar now? Konami used to own it.
Actually, I think it's Konami that does own it. Hudson used to own it.
Bro, come on. Bloody Roar returning now with like next gen graphics and gameplay, right? Like, here's the thing. I've been watching the Invincible alpha the past weekend, and I was enjoying watching people play it. And I feel like the momentum and like the kind of like the function of that game, if they added Bloody Roar characters to that, it would be appropriate. There's blood, there's combos, and the way the combat felt like original Bloody Roar, right? They even have wall breaks in the new Invincible game. Bloody Roar had that, right? So you should check that out, and you'll be like, I know exactly what GQ's talking.
Definitely need to give that a run.
Yeah, and guys, I honestly, Capcom is like in its golden return right now. Right, we're getting, especially when they did DMC5, all the Resident Evil remakes, they like took our advice, finally listened to us, and it paid them back immensely. Right now, I feel like they're getting back up to the top, and they're getting slowly lazier and lazier, right? And stuff is kind of falling apart again. It's kind of the roller coaster of the video game industry.
True.
They just need to be remembered what made them popular, and this is what I mean: Resident Evil, right? Monster Hunter, these are the games that you think of Capcom, right? So they need to remember that. Konami needs to listen to this. We need an awesome Contra. We need maybe like another like Life Force Gradius Salamander, or whatever you want to call it, right? I'll even take a Konami collection of their retro stuff. I think that would be a good place to start for small, kind of like how Capcom's doing the fighting game collection, right? Stuff like that. Then
a Konami running gun collection with like Contra and Sunset Riders,
like a shmup collection, right? Like stuff like that, or a beat 'em up collection. They have enough beat 'em ups, right? They have enough, or they can do like an arcade of like decade era, right? Whatever. They have enough in their inventory to be like, hey, let's go ahead and do this. They're just in a weird spot. I feel like there's like let's just say they have a group of 100 people. There's like 10 that are like, we should do video games again. I think we have a really good library. And they're like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. Just for that, we'll make another pachinko machine.
They're the Shut Up Meg Coalition.
Yeah, it's exactly what's going to happen. They're like, oh, you want to revive Sunset Riders? That's a great idea for the next pachinko. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's what happens in their meetings.
Oh God, that thought hurts me.
Yeah, it's definitely. I am moving on to the next segment. I am grateful for Capcom for giving us the old games that we love updated and new. So hopefully, Konami, you follow with this. You listen to your brethren and your fellow competitors and your audience, right? That we want more of that for you, from you guys as well. We can't play pachinko in America, so give us the games that we want. Much appreciated. All right, moving on to our last segment of the night, the final boss.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just wanted to add that in there. All right, so tonight's final boss, a God Hand remaster, please. It's already sold. I already pre-ordered it. You didn't even know. All right. Tonight's final boss moment. we're gonna go with gratitude. That is the theme of the show tonight. Is gratitude, right? Gratitude. It's a good one. Let's do this one. There you go. Gratitude. All right. All right. So y'all still here? Stick, you still here? All right. All right, class. It's time for another final boss moment. We're getting closer to Thanksgiving, right? A holiday built on reflection, appreciation, connection. And for tonight's final boss, it isn't about defeating something outside of you. I've talked about this before. It's about equipping something inside of you. What does that mean, GQ? You're too vague. Well, let me speak in gamer speak. Because in gaming and in life, gratitude is a power up. Think about it. Think about it. I need a button that says think about it. In Monster Hunter, you eat a meal before the hunt. In Final Fantasy XIV, food buffs give you the little extra XP or stats. In Zelda, you can cook a meal that increases your hearts and stamina or resistance. Hell, in Eiyuden Chronicle, you can get a chef, and the chef makes you a meal, and you get buffs and heals depending on the meal that you get. So, meal buffs are a common thing. Now, these buffs aren't flashy, they aren't loud, but they make you stronger, steadier, and more resilient. And that's exactly what gratitude does. When you take a moment to appreciate what you have, when you acknowledge the people who support you, when you recognize the progress you've made, and this season we're progressing, it doesn't look like much from the outside, but on the inside, your stats go up, your defenses rise, your mental stamina recovers, and your emotional HP gets a full refill. Now, gratitude clears the fog of negativity, gratitude sharpens your focus, and gratitude turns frustration into forward momentum. And the best part? It stacks. Gratitude is a multiplying buff, right? The more you practice it, the stronger it gets, and the stronger you get. Every gamer knows the moment they walk into a big fight. The kind where your palms are sweaty, mom's spaghetti, right? And the music kicks in. You want every advantage you can get. You want every buff, every potion, every meal, every sharpened weapon. Monster Hunter. So here's the truth. As we step into this season, okay, as we step into a harder content, tougher days, bigger challenges, don't forget the simplest, most powerful buff in your inventory: gratitude. Now, be grateful for your progress, even if it feels small, right? Be grateful for your party, the people who walk with you. Be grateful for your XP, the lessons you've learned through the failure and success. Be grateful for the journey because you're still leveling up. And when you combine gratitude with your skills, your training, your growth, you walk into every final boss stronger than before. Because gratitude doesn't just change the way you feel, it changes how you fight. So, as always, you've trained, you've leveled up, now face the final boss. And don't forget to activate your power up, gratitude. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. That is your final boss for this evening. All right. So, yeah. Anything specific you're grateful for, Ace? You want to share?
Honestly, I know it sounds cliche, but honestly, I'm legitimately grateful just for being alive. Because there were points comparatively recently too, but there were points where it just felt like it felt like I'd probably be better off cutting my losses, right? And just not continuing with anything I had set out to work on, not it's like it felt like I did everything I could, but it still felt like it wasn't enough.
You know,
But-
I learned that it's telling of a person when they feel like they haven't done enough, right? And it could be in a variety of things, but I think the one that's most common is if a person sincerely did try all they could, but they haven't done enough, right? It's because we talk about the final boss. You're your own worst enemy. You're holding yourself back, and you don't. And chat Ace, you don't know how common it is that some of people's most worst fear is their own success. Isn't that crazy? One of the most common fears that most people that hold them back from being better, leveling up to the next tier in life, is because they're afraid of what would happen if they succeed. It sounds insane, right? But that's you telling you're not ready to move on to that next level, because in the hero's journey, one of the most important things that Joseph Campbell states on leveling up to and transcending to that next level of hero status, right? This is going to be very brutal to hear, but he states you have to kill yourself to renew yourself. And I was always like, that's pretty rough. Like, that's like, what does that mean? Ultimately, what it means upon digging more into it is that whatever you are now, and you feel you've maxed out, to get to that next level of success in life, you have to kind of destroy yourself and rebuild to adhere to that next level of life. Like, for example, I'll make it super easy for you. If you're a pauper, right? Poor man, peasant. And you want to be king, my dude, you can't be doing pauper and poor things anymore. You gotta do what they call king-like shit. Right? So, but some of the things as a pauper you might enjoy and love and appreciate. But to get to that king level status, you might have to release those things now. Right. So that's what I mean when some people are afraid of their own success, is because they're themselves are holding themselves back because they are afraid to what would happen if they succeed. That's
Right.
deep. That's deep.
But to kind of finish my point though about just being grateful to be alive, it's because there's a point where I literally just I had to sit down, and I was just I wasn't sitting down actually when I came to this realization. I was actually, it was one of those mornings where I was staying with, Duder. And one thing I had constantly made it a point to do, which I still do even now, is every morning when I wake up, first thing I do, I get myself moving. I exercise. I train. And as I was training, it just it kind of helped reinforce that there's so much that I still have yet to do. And it's not that I haven't done enough. It's that I've got plenty more in the tank.
Mhm.
And because of that, just keeping a hold of that, keeping myself alive as I, work through my issues, as I battle my inner demons, as I face my own trials and tribulations. It's that whole concept of you never know what's going to happen next. The future ain't set in stone. And that concept, that thought excites me because it makes me think, what's waiting around the corner? Let's say I'm doing this. Like, technically, I am under NDA right now, but I can tell y'all this. I have no less than 3 voice acting projects in the works right now.
There you go.
And 2 years ago, I hadn't even been thinking about trying to get serious with voice acting. But now, like I've got 3 projects booked, 2 of them that I am actively working on, and I'm having the time of my life. because it's something I didn't think I would be doing. And, just looking back and appreciating how far I've come, looking back and appreciating the people that I've met and reconnected with, it's a trip. And I can't get enough of it.
Can't get enough of it. I feel like that's a song somewhere. Well,
Let's go!
all right.
Right?
I feel like the Smash TV announcer has got a lot of mileage on this channel. So, well, that's good to hear, man. I mean, always keep pushing forward. And this is why we do the final boss. We want to celebrate wins. We want to celebrate no matter how small or big, right? We want to focus on moving forward. We want to focus on achieving what we want to achieve. And just know, like, when you're ready to give up, there's people in the stream and chat over here, like, guy has your back, and you're not alone. So, all the movement one, all spot the camera. AI is about to end that career as it starts. Well, just because that may be the case, my dude, doesn't mean you shouldn't keep it going at it. Like, I think that's what the difference is between certain people. That it's going to lead to an end in some way, but the fact that you're trying anyway because you're passionate about it, I think that you live a life of no regret. That's what's most important. If you've already decided for yourself not to do it just because of what you hear, not only you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the world a disservice because you're not sharing your gift with everybody else. So, just think about that. Now, I have friends that are artists, my guy, and they're afraid of AI. I don't blame them. But I tell you what, my perspective on art and AI is that I think it raises their value much higher. Oh, why, GQ? What do you mean by that? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Because we're going to get so inundated with AI art that the idea of someone painting something for you, drawing something for you physically that you frame, the value of it is going to go so much higher. So if you're complaining about it now, it's only going to get more expensive.
Think about it this way. It's like digital copies versus physical media.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, I know there's art on the internet, and then there's people are concerned about that, but I think real art made by real people on a real medium, like physical medium that you can retain over time, priceless, my dude. So no matter, and if you're an artist, man, more power to you. Like, don't be afraid of AI. I think your value as an artist just increased, right? And I think even though companies will say it's cheaper to go AI, that doesn't necessarily mean your value goes down. Your value increases because there's less of you now, right? But there's nothing like a human touch, right? That to add that sense of quality to it. And now performers will now have to perform extra hard and actually put effort in, right, to differentiate themselves from the AI stuff. So that I think it's a win for everybody, as long as like people don't give up. If you give up, AI will win. If you go, you know what, I think myself as like I'm more important now than ever before, because when everyone's using AI because it's easy, I can provide somebody of value. And over time, honestly, how many people are going to start losing their art skills, right, because of this? And your value will only go higher and higher, right? Because less people are doing, art. So I think that's a win in the long term. Yes, sir. AI is a tool, not a replacement. I agree. Yep. For every company that tries to go full AI ignores the artists do better than the AI. Yes, sir. I agree with all that.
AI is not a tool. Sorry, AI is a tool, not a replacement. AI is also competition. Competition drives you to excel.
Increasing its value also reduce the amount of artists that get recognition and work. You know what? In this stream, we always say competition builds innovation, right? And I think if you want to stand out more, and it's difficult now. Be honest with you, like I was listening to hip hop earlier at work, and I was like, man, I mean, these guys are hustling out there, handing out their CDs because they can't be found, and they're actually good, right? So it's like, it's nothing new, right? And you just have to be smarter. What I'm trying to say is that like the human condition is to always improve and be better than the machine, right? And we'll figure out how to do that. And there's nothing like a personal touch to it. I personally can say that I make online AI comics, but I always add that without my human inspiration of the content, there would be no comic, because the AI can't just create a comic out of nothing. I have to put in what I experienced for it to create the comic. So you got to empower yourself, with that stuff. And I totally get it, man. I hear you. Don't get me wrong. I hear you with this. Companies are doing this, but I feel like that is a time for a different conversation for another time. With that said, Ace, close us out.
Will do. So, I mean, really, if you don't mind me taking over here, thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight on class number 54 and for spending a little bit of your Thanksgiving week right here with the Academy. We know the holidays get busy, family, travel, chaos, everything in between. So the fact that you actually chose to hang out with us and, spend your 2 hours with us, it means more than you know. Tonight was a special one, from walking through a legendary week in gaming history to breaking down some of the most iconic special moves to ever hit the screen. From, watching GQ drag Konami through a respectful but necessary intervention, it reminded me why I love doing this stuff. We get to laugh, we get to learn, we get to teach, to share memories and build something together. It's a community that feels like home base before the next mission. And that right there brings me back to, tonight's final boss message. Gratitude is a power-up. It ain't flashy, it ain't loud, but it strengthens you in ways that you don't always see. When you're thankful, you bounce back faster. When you're grateful, you hit harder. When you appreciate the people around you, your whole party levels up. So as we head into Thanksgiving, I want to encourage you to take a moment, even just a couple of seconds, to acknowledge the buffs in your life. Your family, your friends, your wins, your lessons, your growth, your journey. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with that single step. Appreciate the fact that you took that first step to start that journey. It's all a part of your build. They're all a part of the player that you are becoming. And remember, you've trained. You've leveled up. Now, face the final boss, but with gratitude in your back pocket. So on behalf of myself, Headmaster GQ Asian Dude, and for Tragically Elite, who's off doing his own thing with his family, thank you for being a part of the Academy. Now, do us a favor. Take care of yourselves this week. Enjoy the holiday. And we'll catch you back here next week for number 55. Class dismissed.